Half the state thinks I'm a communist. The other half thinks I'm too soft. You know what? Joke's on them. I can't even get an erection. I was at a Vikings game one time and someone yelled, "You suck!" I'm like, I'm not even on the field. Am I right? Minnesota? I was at the state fair and someone said, "You should try stand-up." And I said, "I'll only do it if I can do it on a stick." Because the food at the fair is all on a stick. I'm sorry, young man, are you from Wisconsin? If you are, I'll talk slower. You know, President Trump, he's talking to that guy from El Salvador, and he was talking all mean. And if I was there, I'd say, hey, Mr. El Salvador president, you know, you can't do that. Someone said, "Hey, Tim, how come you brought that special needs person out on stage at the Democratic convention?" And I said, "I had to. She's my running mate." I went there. Too far? I asked my Tesla to play some jazz, and it said no. And the craziest thing, my garage filled with bees. Am I right? That's okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Normal World. I'm Dave Landau.
And I'm Derek Richards, in for Quarter Black, who is at Coachella.
Coachella, interviewing people, getting to know everyone.
Yes, he is.
Yes, it's going to be exciting when he comes back with a new pair of dungarees.
Oh, he's going to be wearing bloomers for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And the belts?
Yeah, the horse heads.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to look tasty.
That's right.
Speaking of tasty, over there, Angela.
Hey,
welcome.
I was just trying to find some...
Watch it. No,
some bridge to get there.
You can do that.
Yeah,
he's an old pervert.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's expected from you.
Come on. What?
Thank you.
What is
And
this?
to all the foot pervs out there, send me a DM if you want some foot pics, but you're going to have to pay for them.
Is that real?
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
But
You're doing that now?
I'll sell them. I don't care.
What? So I can DM you from Instagram?
Sure. If you send me $100, I'll give you a foot pic.
I see your feet too much.
No, you
We
don't.
do sketches. You've seen your feet.
How many times have you seen my feet?
I don't know.
Well, describe them. Are they good?
You're wearing sandals
Give me
the other day.
a shout out.
They're fine. I think they're delightful, and you should pay for them.
Thank you.
Now I also need a cut as your foot pimp.
You're my foot mech.
Yes, yes. I don't get 100%.
Yeah.
But I get a cut.
He gets a cut.
Yeah, she's
Or
got
she
good.
And it's
gets
actual, and it's actual money. Like, send her money, not Kohl's cash.
I'll take Cole's cash.
Or like Red Lobster gift cards.
I'll take Red Lobster gift card.
All right, well.
I don't think you know her.
I thought I did. Apparently, I am sadly misled.
First of all, she's a woman, so you can pay her in Kohl's cash.
Yeah.
I mean, that's any woman.
Any woman over 30.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing to be ashamed of there.
I got you. All right.
And then you can also Red Lobster. Come
I
on,
love cheddar biscuits.
Cheddar Bay. Cheddar Bay. There's a port on it. Cheddar Bay, and it serves 100 Daves a day.
What's our buddy Bob's joke? He goes, "It's sad when the most popular thing at Red Lobster is not anything seafood related."
It's the thing they give you for free at the beginning of the meal.
Just go there, get yourself a cocktail and some Cheddar Bay biscuits, and just walk out before they serve that shitty seafood.
They give you shrimp that's this big in a pile of butter.
Oh my god!
Which I'm not going to lie, I still like. Anyway, if you want to see me this weekend, you can come to Stir Crazy Comedy Club in Glendale, Arizona, which is technically Phoenix. Also, Jacksonville Comedy Zone next weekend. And very important, I want you to come out to Big L's in Emily, Minnesota. That's going to be Memorial Day. Is that right? Memorial Day.
End of May with you, like May 23,
yes.
5, something like that.
Yes. Okay. The week before Memorial.
Yeah, 26th is Memorial.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Mm-hmm.
So it is Memorial Day weekend then. Yeah.
Well, I thought it wasn't.
Well, there you go.
Maybe it was. I don't know. Just go to Big L's tickets. I wish I wrote that down for this one. You can go to my website, davelandau.com. You can
It's in
also,
Minnesota.
It's in Minnesota, Emily,
Google-
Minnesota, and you
Google
can.
Big Al's Minnesota. You'll find it.
You can. My friend Tommy Thompson will be with me. He's great on stage, just not off. And
Minnesota has a great comedy scene, as we just saw.
do.
Yeah.
We just noticed it. And I mean, if you want to see a true, check out Tim Walz. Balls to the Walls. It's coming to Netflix. It's good.
Epic.
Speaking of which, you're going to be.
I'm going to be, your book, Party of One.
My book, Party of One,
A
is
Fuzzy
available.
Memoir. Available on Amazon.
Please go to Amazon.com, Party of One, A Fuzzy Memoir. You will enjoy it.
It's a fantastic read. And I'm going to be in Fort Myers this weekend at Snappers Comedy Club. Then I'll be at the Zoo Club in St. Petersburg, Florida on April 23rd. That's a Wednesday. And then April 24, 5, 6 in Palm Harbor, Florida at Snappers Comedy Club. Their sister location, DerekRichards.com, is my website. And, of course, the special All In live in Las Vegas on the Blaze Network, courtesy of Normal World.
Yes, courtesy of my pocketbook.
Yes.
And also, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Oh, it's still in debt.
So watch it.
I've
please.
used all your Kohl's cash that you paid me.
I paid you in as much as I could, which
Yes, you did.
was a lot. And also, Angela at Angela Does Horror.
Yeah, on YouTube.
There you go.
And Normal Angela on Instagram. Thank you.
There you go. No trouble. Now, I'd like to introduce our guest. He's an author. His book that is now out is called The Children We Left Behind: How Western Culture Rationalizes Family Separation and Ignores the Pain of Child Neglect. Please welcome to the show, Adam B. Coleman.
Ow!
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Detroit native,
Yes.
Adam B. Coleman, now currently in New Jersey.
What part of Detroit were you from?
This sounds terrible, but I don't remember.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because I was very young when we moved.
Oh, were you? Okay. So I didn't know because.
It was the hood.
Oh, well, it's Detroit.
It's Detroit, yeah.
You be more specific, Adam.
More specific?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could remember.
No, you don't.
There's a reason those memories are suppressed.
When did you move as a kid?
I was around 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you start? When did you start writing and putting the story out?
I started writing in general back in 2020 when I started writing for my first book, Black Victim and Black Victor,
Yes.
and published it. Was it March of 2021, and somehow turned into a writing career.
Good for you.
Yeah, and writing for different publications, most notably the New York Post.
Good for you.
Now, what was your first book about?
It was sort of initially answering the question, what's the biggest issue facing Black Americans? And so I was kind of talking much about this book, family separation. Single parenthood is the biggest issue facing Black Americans. But I was also talking about victimhood, victim ideology, how it affects people, but also how to change it. And also just using my story where points in my life where I felt like I was a victim, but I was able to overcome those obstacles and become a victor in my life and lead towards something more prosperous. So yeah, that was the general thesis of it. It was it wasn't all Black as far as like you don't have to be Black to read it or anything like that. Many of people from
But it wouldn't open for me.
I've often found that if I want to learn about any type of Black issues, I talk to white women in their 30s.
well,
Because
ideally,
they seem to be the most knowledgeable.
Yeah, they seem to know mostly of what you want.
Yes.
they know more than I do, apparently. So
You're welcome.
Yes.
Whoops. Sorry.
I'm so glad you're not one of those. You're just the opposite of one of those.
I know, right?
yeah.
These are the ones who go, we want to defund the police, but then they have to hire the police to go to the park where they're having the rally. I swear to God, they go and
know.
fill out permits. Anyway, sorry.
That's all right.
So that's getting into this book. This is more about your childhood.
Yeah, there's a general thesis as far as what's the biggest issues facing our culture and where do they come from. So, homelessness, Like in San Francisco, they talk about homelessness being a housing issue. They would just give them my house and they'll be fine.
Right.
But really, it's linked with drug addiction. And for a lot of these people, they've been doing drugs since they were teenagers. And so the question is, why would a teenager drink and do drugs? Some, it's rebellious, but some, they're coping with something. And for many of them, they're coping with physical abuse, sexual abuse, abandonment, the whole nine. And so I wanted to talk about, the family separation angle or the lack of care for children throughout this book. But I was also using my story because those are extreme circumstances, but a lot of people are just surviving their family separation situation when they were kids. Children of divorce, how it impacts them.
Yeah.
My story of growing up without my father, how it impacted me, with suicidal ideation, depression, anxiety, struggling throughout most of throughout my entire childhood and also most of my adult life. And I was talking about earlier, being admitted into a mental hospital.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
And not to be the I've been there too, but I have. And
Yeah.
I was dealing with issues involving not abandonment on purpose was my thing, but it ended up happening to a degree. And that's so I relate to you on that level. But I'm wondering what got you there and how young were you when you were first committed?
So I was 8 when I was committed.
Okay.
Wow.
That's really young. Yeah.
Damn.
And when people talk about it, they're like, they shouldn't have admitted you, right?
It seems extreme.
Yeah. But they admitted me and I was there for 3 months, which is like forever when you're 8
Oh, yeah.
and you don't know when you're going to go home.
It feels like a jail.
Yes, quite literally.
Yeah.
It was one big, massive room with kids and we couldn't leave that room.
Right.
What got you admitted, if I may ask?
Yeah, so we had just got done being homeless. We were moved from Detroit to Virginia to upstate New York, all in about a year and a half. So there's a lot of chaotic things happening. And even when we moved to New York, we were staying with a family member. It was kind of a high stress environment for me specifically.
Sure.
I remember getting off the bus and my mom said, "We're leaving." We didn't have any place to go. And, but she was just trying to get me out of that environment.
Right.
And we were bouncing around in hotel rooms for a bit and a lady with a trailer offered a room. So all 3 of us stayed in that room, I think for about a month or so until we got an apartment. So while on the surface, we got our apartment, we should be good, but I was still dealing with everything that was going on.
And you're still homeless, and I think a lot of people in this country don't look at that. They just see the tent cities in this extreme.
Yeah.
When homelessness comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Children are one of the biggest demographics of homeless people.
Absolutely, yeah.
And homeless families are typically led by women, so there's single mothers with children who are dealing with housing issues. But to answer your question, by the time we made it into an apartment, it was described I was having a mental break.
Yeah.
My sister remembers me being in a fetal position underneath the kitchen table screaming. And eventually I went to my mom and said to her that if she loved me, she'd help me die.
Okay.
And so from there, my mom went to the professionals. They recommended having me admitted before I harmed myself. So personally, I don't think I was going to harm myself because I didn't fully understand
Sure.
what was going on. But nevertheless, I was admitted. And after that, my demeanor moving forward was very different.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, I guess after that, though, as you got older, did you still have those suicidal ideations, but then you were afraid to come forward with them because you were locked up at 8?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It would come and go. We all mess up when we're kids, maybe you don't get the best of grades and stuff like that. But I didn't have a father to kind of say, it's all right, you can do better. Or say, I expect more from you. I'm going to work with you. I didn't really have that. My mother was working a lot. She was taking care of 2 kids. We were trying to find stability throughout much of my childhood. And so the older I got, the more it was expected that, you're in high school, figure it out. So, when you screw up a lot in your head, you're like, I'm just one big screw up. And you start getting to that point, what's the point? Why am I alive?
Yeah.
So, that's something that kept reoccurring in my life. And I say that my son helped to save my life because he gave me more of a purpose and gave me some strength to do better for myself for the benefit of my son.
You need that purpose.
Yeah.
That's what's helped me in my life, a purpose that I didn't even know that I had. And that's the direction you have to go when you stop living for yourself, especially when I believe you've learned for a long time that you're not worth it.
Yeah.
Or however you've been made to feel through your life that you're not important. When you finally can see that in somebody else, I think you can kind of find yourself.
Oh yeah.
It's an odd I don't know, it's a paradox, I guess you would say.
No, definitely. I mean, now were you bullied, or were you in trouble with the cops when you were growing up, or was it just a matter of just struggling in school?
I was struggling in school. I was I didn't have a whole lot of friends, because we moved around a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't really have any childhood friends. I lived in 4 states before the age of 18, so we were always going to different places. But I never got in trouble. I was much too paranoid to get in trouble, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. But I would say this, in high school, my friends were the goth rock kids, and they did drugs and would drink.
Okay.
But they never did it around me.
Really?
Yeah. Because they respected, and they never tried to force me either. I think one time they asked me, like, do you want to hit? And I'm like,
Right.
no. But from then, they just understood. And I understood when they were about to do their thing. And I'd be like, all right, peace, guys. And that was about it. But we were all dealing with very similar situations. One of my good friends that was part of that crew, he went to rehab for alcohol at 16.
Mm.
And I know he was dealing with some sort of, I believe it was some sort of physical abuse issue at home.
Sure.
And, unfortunately, he died of an overdose in his early 30s. So some
man.
years ago. It was, I believe it was supposed to be like an accidental overdose because
Sorry to hear that.
they prosecuted the dealers.
There's probably fentanyl in it or something.
Yeah, I can't remember what it
Yeah.
was laced with, but yeah, this
That
was some years ago.
Yeah. I had a ex-girlfriend, same
Yeah.
deal when it was first happening. And it's a difficult thing, especially somebody you've known that long and they've battled it, because if you knew him at 16, you've watched it half his life,
Yeah.
have to deal with that.
But because I moved around a lot, even when I got into my adult years. So, I would run into him every so often. Some people hide it well, so sometimes you're like, well, they might be drinking, but I don't know if they're taking drugs or anything
Sure.
like that. So I didn't know that he was going in that direction. So I felt kind of guilty because I should have been there for him. I should have reached out more often, but I was caught up in my stuff and, living in different places, trying to get my life together.
No, definitely. I mean, and a testament to your friends that you had at the time, the fact that they did not try to push that on you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very respectful on their end. I mean, they had their own issues that they were dealing with, and they went ahead and did their own stuff, but didn't bring you into that fold, which is, thank God.
Yeah. I'm the one kid the DARE program worked on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're the only one. Everybody else just took it as a dare to use drugs. So that was
Exactly.
you're the guy.
Success.
You are the success story.
You're the one
Coleman.
who saw the display in front of the school of prom night with everybody dead in front of the car and didn't think it looked cool.
Yeah.
Taking pictures with it. How old were you then when your dad left?
Well,
If that's okay to ask.
No.
I guess.
There's no limitation. You guys
Okay,
ask
cool.
what everyone.
So he goes for cigarettes. And sorry.
Still looking for cigarettes.
Yeah. That's the old dad thing. If the Irish and blacks are both known for going for cigarettes.
Yeah, well, my dad was Trinidadian, so he went for the roll tea and never came back.
Oh, really?
No, just
I was like, well, you're making it sound reasonable.
yeah. Oh shit.
So
No.
how old were you? Because you said he left your mom.
Well, they weren't really totally together. So my father was married, but he was never married to my mother.
Okay.
So we were like the other kids. And my sister and I have the same father. And, when we lived in Detroit, because he always lived in Detroit, he would come over once in a while. But I think he had a little bit more of a relationship with my sister because my sister was more receptive, but I was also younger.
I was going to ask if she was older. Cause
Yeah, she's 4 years older than me.
Okay.
So I was younger, and my mom told me that he would sometimes bribe me just to come over to him because I didn't have any sort of connection with him. But especially when we left Detroit, we were starting to see like, yeah, we had some gang members, but we started seeing like drug addicts, and it was getting noticeably worse. My mother up and left, sold the house and up and left and went to Virginia. After we left Detroit, I rarely saw him.
Around what year?
So I was born in 84, so I think it was about 90. Yeah.
Oh, that was a huge gang and crack boom.
Yeah.
I mean, that was wise of her, I think.
Yeah.
Get you out of there.
Yeah. She was describing, she could see the progression.
It got into the late 90s. I mean, that was very wise on her part.
Yeah. So we moved to Alexandria, Virginia, and started bouncing around from there. So
I take it back. I'm just kidding. I've been there once. So I want to add some levity because but it's very wise of her. Honestly.
Yeah.
So did you know your dad's wife?
No.
At all?
No.
Okay.
No. That part, my father's family was very much so separated from me. I met my grandmother once, so my father's mother once, along with some cousins. So they knew we existed. And I think I was maybe in my early teens when I met her, or maybe like 11, 12, something like that. It was a long time ago.
Right.
And I had one brief conversation with her. So I at least met her once.
Was it uncomfortable?
Not uncomfortable. It was just
Distant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, she seemed nice. They knew who we were, so it's not like, why are you here?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like we were a big secret.
Okay, so it wasn't like this hidden thing where he would come over.
Yeah.
But it was still something that I guess you would say was out of wedlock, or kind of what you experienced in your childhood.
Yeah.
So it was sort of, but there was an awareness to it, which is, I can't say if that's better or worse. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
know.
I don't
I've never
know.
felt that. Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm sure it hurts one way or the other. So.
Yeah. I mean, that side, because my father is from Trinidad, and, like when you hear other people who have immigrant parents and they have an immigrant story, you understand some sort of lineage. And I've never had that. I've never had that emotional connection to Trinidad. Know why my father came to America, what led for it to happen. Because he came, I think, when he was 30. So it's like, well, what made him come in later years?
Yeah.
So I never got to find that out. I never really had much of a relationship with him. And my father was kind of a stranger to me. So, I mean, the last time I spoke to him, I was 21, just after my son was born.
Oh, wow.
And I called him, and it was kind of like, hey, it's your son, Adam. And, and you just tell he wasn't very interested. Like, he's busy doing something. So I was like, why am I calling him? Like, he's clearly not interested. And the last time I saw him in person was 16.
Okay.
Yeah. He came through he drove from Detroit. He would like to go to New York City to get fabric because he was a tailor.
Okay.
So we always lived in New York and New Jersey. So he basically just used our house as a place to sleep. But he wasn't really there to see us. He was there to go to New York City. So even when he was there, he was always distant. So, my father is essentially a stranger. And he died, I want to say it was 2018 he died. But I found out 3 months after he passed away because my mom just happened to Google his name.
Oh, so you were that separated at that point.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah.
Did you have any father figure at all growing up? I mean, somebody in the neighborhood that was, or like an uncle or anybody that sort of helped you along?
No. My mother never got married. She didn't really have long-term relationships, really any relationships.
Right.
It's got to be hard at that point, too.
Yeah.
When you're raising everybody and then
right.
dating, and then that's difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speak for my mom, so I don't know if she was ever interested in having a long-term relationship. So yeah, I never really had a male influence. When I got older, I wasn't into sports, so I wasn't around any sort of coaches or anything like that. So So it was basically just me trying to figure it out.
Well, anybody who's met Jerry Sandusky would say you're better off. For sure.
Tim Walz.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I was missing.
So thank God, right?
Yeah.
I'm also not athletic. Did you lean on your friends a lot though? Was that something you could do?
I didn't have a whole lot of friends.
Okay.
So no, the answer is no. Growing up, I didn't really have a lot of friends because we just moved a lot.
And it's also very hard to develop those social skills, I think, in a lot of ways without a father around or somebody sort of showing you the way, uncles or what have you.
Was there any kind of counselor that sort of helped you a lot? I mean, because this is a pretty amazing success story. I mean, because you really could have gone.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean,
you had
in a number of horrible directions.
You had, which I think is interesting. You talk about victimhood. You had every reason to be angry and go south.
Right. I think about all the time, what if my mom never left Detroit?
Yeah.
Because I was that kid who was I could have been vulnerable. Someone take me in, and show me some sort of way, got me onto the streets or something like that.
That's what I mean. I think it wouldn't have taken long to find a father figure or people who you could look up to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I had that, and it was just people who I admired that you should never admire. But I think that's just part of depending on where you're living.
Right.
But on your book, you're wearing a Cub Scout.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, how did you get into that, and did that help you at the time?
So one really good thing that my mom used to do, especially when I was around that age, she was like, I'm going to have you around other boys. That was her big thing. So she got me into Cub Scouts. By this point, we were living in upstate New York. That picture is from when I was living in upstate New York. So I was in Cub Scouts all the way to Boy Scouts. And it got me around other boys, and I was around other men. But Boy Scouts is, at least back then, it was a little bit different because it's more of a father-son bonding thing.
It is, as I remember, yes.
Yeah.
We're like the same age, so.
Yeah. So when you go there and you're the only one who doesn't have a father, you're kind of like interjecting. Obviously you have like the scout leader, but it mainly feels like a father-son kind of activity.
Yeah.
So it's not like I was rejected or anything like that, but it just wasn't the same for me as it was for the other kids.
No, you feel, I'm sure you felt a certain sense of loneliness.
Yeah.
That sort of was magnified to a degree.
Yeah. I felt more accepted in the Scouts than I did when I played baseball. So I did Little League baseball. And that's even more so like your fathers are either in the stands or they're a part of the team. And once again, I'm the only one who doesn't have like his family actively there watching him play. And especially like in Little League sports like that, it's a little bit political.
Sure.
It's like the coach's son gets favorability. He gets whatever position he wants to play.
Oh yeah. If you have those kind of coaches, it's a shame how that works.
Yeah. And I had that my last year of baseball. It was like that. The son wanted to be taken out. He started throwing balls, and he's like, "Are you going to take me out?" He's like, "Keep him in there." And I'm like, "Shit, I want to be a pitcher. Like I want to pitch." And
right.
I never got a chance. They stuck me in the outfield, and and then the one time the ball came flying through it bounced off my glove, and I just felt like the biggest screw up in the world.
My dad was our coach, and I was a right fielder.
Yeah.
So I relate to that because he wasn't the one that goes, my son's going to pitch. He'd be like, don't go anywhere near the pitcher's mound. He had I was lucky where in the sense of he was a coach who, his dad abandoned him when he was a kid. So he kind of grew up with that same thing that you have where once he became a dad, it was so important to him.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of kids on the team where he didn't want to just do like, okay, we're going to have this Little League. We have to also bring in Detroit and we have to all play together. Mm-hmm. And that was something that helped, I found out for a lot of kids later who didn't have a father figure. They felt like they were a part of something, Right. And it's got to be hard if you have that coach that's just so interested in their own kid's success that they're not trying to give love to the entire team, because it's like we may have been playing in the suburbs, but I mean, my dad wasn't like, all right, black kid's in the outfield. He was like, you're pitching, you can pinch hit for him. You know what I mean? But it was like it was very much the opposite of what he got, which was pure abandonment.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess I'm just saying in a different relation, like there are some rare coaches, and it's unfortunate that even in that situation, you didn't have somebody that tried to at least get you to a potential you could reach.
Yeah, no, I was always last on the batting lineup and always in the outfield.
Me too.
You should start a softball team.
I was in right field too.
Yeah.
No one ever hit the ball to me.
No, and if they did, my dad would go, guys, it's over.
Shift.
Someone would,
That was where the shift first started. Didn't happen in Major League Baseball. It happened on my Little League team and obviously on yours too.
I'm starting to realize he likes other kids more than me. My whole thing. So,
I mean, when I was in Boy Scouts, my scout leader liked me.
oh, did he?
I mean, he'd hug me in the shower a lot.
Is that why he?
Very long,
I was gonna say, that's not a good thing.
long, deep, comfy hugs.
Is that why you had
Warm
that,
water cascading down on us. What?
Is that why
Sorry.
your neckerchief was a bib?
I'm sorry. Always dirty.
He didn't want the other boys to get jealous,
Crunchy, yeah.
so they had
Right.
to keep it a secret. That's-
Exactly. Thank you.
I know. Yeah.
Angela.
Do you always have a canteen?
Yes.
Teen boy. Oh, I've spilled water on your.
He's weeping.
Clumsy.
I guess you'll have to share mine. Oh, my shirt ripped
That would never get aired.
today. Oh my god, dude!
Oh my God.
That sketch. I want to say. I mean, we were probably 10 when that came out, and we thought it was hilarious. Like kids were watching that, loving. Like we completely got the joke,
Right.
You know, and it's like the best sketch. It's so offensive.
It very much was.
Yeah, I think it's still great. And I mean, but now, yeah, you go like, well, we can't make fun of that. And you're like, I think you can, but you're just going to get the worst backlash imaginable, you know? I guess if you're speaking out too, kind of about the idea of a family, you're raising your kid, you're married. I guess I should ask first, it sounds like you got a woman pregnant fairly early on.
Yes. So when I was growing up, obviously, like marriage wasn't necessarily emphasized. I knew I wanted to get married when I was younger, but as far as knowing an order to things, I was much so a young man with low self-esteem who looked for external validation. And growing up and liking girls, you look for that validation from girls.
Oh yeah.
So the first one that liked me, all right, and I was all in. His mother got pregnant, and then I'm like, all right, well, how do I navigate this, and how do we figure this out? At first our relationship was very rocky, and ultimately didn't work out between us.
Right.
But I always made sure that I'm part of my son's life. I'm giving him 110% effort. The first year of his life, I would work overnights, and then I would pick him up from his mother's, watch him all day, drop him off, and I would get like 3 hours of sleep and then repeat it. And it was the most exhausting time of my life, but it was the most rewarding because I got to watch my son grow up and I got to raise him.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, when we talk about fathers being like just the income earner, as if there's no sort of reward system as for young, especially for young men, but for men in general to be involved in their kids' lives is such a disservice, because I know what it feels like. And I bonded with my son throughout that entire experience. I couldn't wait till my son could, I couldn't wait till I could tickle my son because I wanted to see him laugh. And that was like the best thing. So, it's stuff like that I really cherished. And my son was like the first male I would actually like want to hug in my life. So every time I see my son, he's 19 and 6'1" now.
Yeah.
He says, "I love you, Dad," and gives me a hug. Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
My son's 10. He's
awesome.
starting to shy away, so I yell it louder from the car. I'm completely that dad. I shouldn't, but I'm just like, I said I love you, buddy. And he's just like, but no, it's a wonderful thing because the first 3 years of my son's life was very much like that. Other than when I was touring, but I was with them every single day and like watching them really turn from this thing where you're like, whatever this is that you can't really understand, and your basic goal is like, well, let's just make sure it doesn't die, right?
Right.
Like that's the first few months of a baby's life because you're confused if you're being honest.
It's my life now.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's why we don't have Uncle Derek babysit. But to watch them grow up into that and be part of that, I mean, and especially if you haven't had a bond with somebody like that,
Yeah.
I imagine it's got to be wonderful.
Absolutely. It was absolutely wonderful. You know, like I said, from the very beginning, I just didn't want to be my father. So it's a very low bar.
Right. That's my
You're around.
hidden.
You already.
Yeah.
You're already at first base.
Exactly. But yeah, I just built a relationship with him of communication and just being honest with him. So like, you know, obviously we're laughing and stuff. I'm really, we were just talking about before, I'm really big into comedy. And I don't know about you, but actually we're about the same age, so we probably have kids been through the same thing. Do your kids watch like the Disney Channel?
He has, yeah.
And it's the dumbest, worst humor, unfunny jokes.
Ever.
Oh my
Rude
God.
humor. They're just yelling at each other.
And
it
they're
seems like.
bratty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. And all the adults are stupid and the children are smart.
And my son's sitting right there, so I can't masturbate.
Well, you can.
No, he would watch also the Nickelodeon shows that were made by Dan Schneider.
Okay.
And I'm like, I didn't know, you know, but he would watch the newer one, the Henry Danger one that was impossible for me to get through. But you watch it, I'm like, okay, cool. He only had something to do with like the first 2 episodes. I can let this happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything before that just creeps me out. And then the Disney Channel is the same thing where, yeah, it's like, there's like a cruelty to it
Yeah.
that I don't like at all.
Back in the day, we had like Boy Meets World and stuff that had like.
It was
Well, that
well
was
written.
it was just
Oh no, I was around
wholesome.
for
Yeah.
yeah.
Now it's just mean.
There's still like the Mr. Feeney's like 102 now.
It's amazing.
But it was the same if you had Family Matters or Step by Step, whatever the like. There was always this grounded family like love dynamic to what you were watching, and now it seems like there's like this separation where they're just it's like get you away from your parents.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, well, part of my issue with Disney is that they make the kids seem superior to the adults.
Yes.
Yes.
Like the adults are just bumbling idiots. They're like, oh, I should have known that. And the kids are like, stupid. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Right. Yeah, the kids have it all figured out. And then it's sort of like how every single sitcom for a minute, the husband who has a great job is the dumbest man on planet Earth. And he's also married to the hottest woman imaginable,
Right.
who just reminds him of how stupid he was.
Right.
And that was like for 10 years in the late 80s and 90s, you know? Well, I got to get into this real quick, though.
Yes, we do.
I'll tell you, it won't leave you. Lumen.
No.
Lumen does
The
not abandon you.
world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, which you download, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and stress management. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning when you get up, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism. You like that?
I think it's a great idea.
It gives you a personalized nutrition plan. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on with your body in real time. They sent one to me. I started using it. I need to be a little more disciplined, but I think it's a really good tool. Have you tried it?
I got a friend of mine that uses this thing.
Yeah,
He swears by it.
people like
He's like
I've
it's
recommended
great.
to.
I mean, it corrects your bad habits like in real time.
Yeah, and you don't have to have the Step app
Yeah.
challenging you. You know, it just feels, and you can blow into it like a breathalyzer, so you can still feel like a little scumbag. So your metabolism.
I know exactly how that feels like.
Do you?
Blowing into a breathalyzer.
He's got one on his car.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. He's.
Not anymore. It's a rental car now.
You have one on your motorcycle.
My scooter.
Whenever I see a scooter, you know it's a DUI, but I'm like, how's he riding that legally?
I know, right?
But you can. Anyway, your metabolism is your body's engine. We all know that. Look, this is a great deal. It's a great product. Angela, how can they get it?
They can go to lumen.me/normal to get 15% off of your Lumen. And by the way, it also helps ladies with predicting menopause, different things like that. So I don't know how that does that. It's just magic.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the hot flashes, but it's...
Yeah, maybe it's just your hot breath.
your hot breath.
But really cool. Yeah, go to lumen.me/normal, 15% off. Really cool thing.
There's less moisture in the air.
When you're drying up.
Well, when you're hitting menopause, I don't mean like
What? I just
women use a lot of lotions.
yes.
I'm just saying, there's whole stores of lotions for women.
Just Bed Bath and Beyond.
I'm afraid to see what would happen.
Built on dry women.
It's all dry women.
Yes.
And Lumen's going to help you.
If you bitches would be moister, there wouldn't be all these lotions.
That's correct. And that, yes, they should.
I'm so happy she's behind a desk
I know, she could stab
on
me.
the other side of the studio.
Anyway, Lumen, thank you for sponsoring this episode. And again, just go to lumen, lumen.me/normal, and you will get 15% off your purchase today.
It's a deal. Good stuff.
Oh, that was awkward. No, it wasn't.
Now it is.
Now it is. 'Cause I'm trying to find where
Now that you acknowledge the
trying to
awkwardness.
find where my page was. We used to have teleprompters, and then they were like, you don't need that.
That's what happened.
It's for amateurs.
Yeah, that's what happened. It wasn't people's refusal. I didn't talk. I mean you, Kayla, who's in my ear. Kayla does the board, and she does very well. Do you like that, Kayla?
Did she acknowledge?
She's
not even
She just
answering
flashed.
me.
She flashed. She looked like that. She likes
Okay.
it.
Well, that means yes.
I've never given Kayla crap.
Oh, never.
Have I?
Maybe a few times, but it's
Not
just
really.
in jest. In jest.
Yeah. Not like for real.
No,
Well,
I know
you
you're
joke
scared of
around
her.
with
No. I scare her? There's
No,
no
you're
way I
you're
scare
scared of her, as
You're
you should
scared
be.
of her.
Oh, no, I'm scared of her, yes. I keep my distance.
Mm-hmm.
Tried to hug me once, and it was like, what?
What are you doing?
I'm like, all right, Merry Christmas. Stop.
She had a shank.
I know. It turned out she did.
Yeah.
It was a knife shoe.
It gut you like a trout.
Anyway, no, I'm sorry. I love this interview, and I just had to got to pay the bills somehow, as the kids say.
No, completely understand.
So having your kid and then moving on, is that what kind of shifted you? I guess from high school, and then you ended up having a kid fairly young.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do after that to make sure you were taking care of him, right?
Yes.
Son, yeah.
Yeah. Work-wise, I went to tech school right after high school, but I never got my tech career going until like my mid-20s. Eventually, I really started getting my IT career moving finally, like in my early 30s. Like I think it was like 31, 32.
Okay.
And then from there, my IT career really started taking off. As far as I've been more in like the system administration avenue. So like when I wrote this book, I wrote 90% of it at work in my office.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Sweet.
But I was a IT manager for a small business at the time when I wrote it. And I didn't tell anybody I was writing it. I didn't know if they would be upset or not. And I lucked out that the owner of the company is a big Trump supporter. He's like, give me 5 copies, you know?
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, and he gave it to his socialist kids. So
There you go.
That'll show.
Well, yeah.
Now let me ask you, because in the title it says here how Western culture rationalizes family separation and ignores the pain of child neglect.
yes.
What is that?
So the rationalization, you've probably heard people say like, if I'm happy, my children will be happy.
Right.
Right. That's a rationalization for what you're about to do. Because deep down, you know that getting a divorce or committing some sort of family separation scenario is going to be traumatic for your kids. But as long as you're happy, right, then somehow your kids will be happy by osmosis. So,
Yeah.
you know, this is the rationalization part that I'm talking about.
Okay.
It comes in the form of, well, we'll just put them into therapy and they'll be fine. And it's like, well, no. Plenty of kids have been put into therapy after divorce and they're still dealing with it in their 40s and beyond.
And you're also medicating kids at an age which maybe has been somewhat corrected now, but going, look, instead of Adderall, we'll give you Klonopin isn't exactly a good solution.
Right.
And, you know, so much of it is a Band-Aid that is now used as perma-treatment.
Yeah. And some kids, well, I think most kids, you know, they're reacting to their environment.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe back in the day, we would say, this kid is bad. And you probably heard stuff like, oh, this kid is running away. You remember watching like Sally Jesse Raphael,
Oh, yeah.
Bad Teens, and they're like, oh, she runs away all the time.
Do what I want.
I do what I want.
You can't tell me.
And
what
Dave talked that way as a white man.
Yes, that's how I was. That's
Detroit.
Cartman. Yeah. What I want.
Well, you would hear
Slaps his
that.
mom.
You would hear that and you think, oh, something's wrong with that kid. But then the older I got, the more I realized, like, wait, they're running away from something, right? And then you find out, like, oh, mom's boyfriend makes me uncomfortable,
Gotcha.
you know? And so you start looking deeper. The kid isn't bad. They weren't born bad. They're reacting to their environment. Something is going on, and they'd rather run out into the streets where there's a complete mystery, and kids can't see around the corner. They can't see the consequences. And, you know, many of, especially if they're young girls, they end up in prostitution or getting, stuck in sex trafficking in some degree. They can't see that. But that mystery is far better than the thing that they know. And they know that at home, there's abuse, there's sexual abuse, there's physical abuse, there's something going on that they are afraid of and they don't want to put up with.
No, and they feel better in the company of a stranger who might be paying them. I mean, and they also have to make an amount of money that most kids that age don't have to make. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible road to go down.
Yeah. Or they don't see any other way forward.
Yeah, they don't know.
Yeah, they just don't know. And the people who are supposed to teach them are failing them, over and over and over.
Well, and there's so many jokes about it too in the reverse way, where it's like their family has so much wealth, they've all OD'd. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's because there's this complete neglect coming from who's in charge. You're raised by a nanny. I remember I had a friend, I was jealous of him. He had so much property just to vacation on. I know his own personal made lake. And like he was on drugs, wasn't necessarily happy, but we got along really well. And I remember one time we flipped a four-wheeler and he wasn't even in trouble. His dad helicoptered in a new four-wheeler. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. I wish my dad would do that. He's like, my dad's never told me that he loves me. I was like, oh man, dude, I just felt that.
Damn.
So it's like he knew his dad would send him whatever toys he wanted, but he knew that getting that love from him was completely out of reach and had been his entire life.
Yeah. That's someone who is being present yet neglectful.
Right.
And they're not, it reminds me like back to like the talk show days where you hear the parents say, they can drink and do drugs in the house because they're safer here than out there. And a kid is like, I know I'm not supposed to be doing drugs and drinking. You don't even love me enough to tell me no, right? You're taking the easy road and you don't care that I'm, blacking out drunk or smoking weed in the house and it's not good for me to do this. You don't even care enough to tell me not to do it. So that is also like a sign of the parents taking the easy road. It's very easy to just tell kids yes all day long.
It is.
They're trying to be the cool parent.
Right.
They're trying to be a friend and not a parent.
That's actually more accurate. They want to be their friend.
Yeah.
And being a friend is not a status of authority. Like, I can't tell Dave what to do, right? I have no authority over you. But as a parent...
In February, you can.
February, that's right.
No, I know exactly what you mean because we were talking about this on a show a little while ago, and I don't mean to relate it. It's the only way that I can, though. Yeah. Because I can, like, a mom who would come down and then all of a sudden it's like, your mom's the coolest, and then she'd rip a bong in front of me. And I'm like, this is fucked. And it's like, but you realize there's also those parents too that, like you said, not only are being neglectful and letting you do it, but there's some that actually enable it because whatever led them to be still in their teens, even though it's this 45-year-old woman, like, I'll never forget that. I thought she was going to start screaming at us. She's like, you're not going to pass that to me? And we're like, here you go.
Is this a test?
Yeah, and then she's just
So
ripping
bizarre.
the bong hard. When she ended up in prison.
Now, was she married?
No.
Or no, yeah.
Single mom.
See, that's the whole thing too. You end up having the parents that are the dad gets the kids. Now they're going to try to do whatever they can to get the kids on his side, and the mom does the exact same thing.
Right.
Yeah, like she was trying to be friends with all the friends, and it was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
For everybody else. But I mean, especially for him. I really felt bad for him because he wasn't really that hard of a party. I mean, he kind of had that thing where he was kind of the odd man out kid, and we were really only at his house because, I mean, for lack of a better word, we could be. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't so much like, hey, we like you. It was,
we're not going to get in trouble here.
Yeah, and that's what it led into, was it's like, we like how your mom's an idiot, you know, like, for lack you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but
was his mom a druggie?
Oh, she was. Yeah, she ended up. She was a nurse, but she ended up getting. She was dealing, I believe, ecstasy to kids after a while.
Wow.
So it like really skyrocketed from like.
Oh man.
She would sell weed because I'd buy eighths off of her, but like after that day. But then eventually, it was years after high school, but I was like, oh, I wonder whatever happened. And then I was like, oh, they raided her house. And it was like right across from a very fairly affluential neighborhood, right across from a hospital. And it's like, yeah, she was just slanging, dude.
Yeah.
So it was, I mean, it was really, when they take down a house like that, I've seen it a few times. So I had a neighbor that was like kitty corner behind me, and they were pulling out these duffel bags of ecstasy pills. And I'm like, wow. There's so much money right there. Like, it was, like, but you don't know it, you know. And that was somebody else they had kids, you know. And so
I was blown away by the kids that could swear at their parents.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, and I told this to my girlfriend the other day, a story about, because my dad was always my dad. He was never my friend.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the garage one time, and I was working on something, and my dad made some snarky comment to me, and I was, I think, 16. And I went, fuck you. Like, looking down, and he was behind me, and I said it under my breath. And all I remember was this meaty paw grabbing the back of my shirt, throw me against the garage wall, putting his hand in my chest, and he goes, I am not one of your punk-ass friends. You will never talk to me like that again. And I'm like, as the air is escaping my lungs, I'm like, yes, sir. Done. Never said.
My dad did
never
that.
said again.
Yeah, my dad did that thing where if I yelled something out the window at somebody, after he pulled away, he would stop the car, back it up, and go, my son has something to say to you that he'd like to say to your face.
Oh.
And I'd be like, nice hat. And
Way to ruin it, Dad.
yeah, and he's like, now what else do you have to say? I'm like, I'm very sorry for disrespecting you, sir. And then, yeah, after that, it was like, oh, we're not going to the park anymore and getting ice cream. But, I mean, there was that level of discipline.
Sure.
And, I mean, later, I guess I swore a bit. But did your son try to push those boundaries a little?
No,
Okay.
not really.
Like even words like stupid or something, like just something.
No,
at a young
never
age?
never directly towards me.
No, not at you, but just in general.
Like we would be joking, and yeah, you know, you kind of
That's what I mean.
we would be joking, and then there would be like 2 times I was like, I'm not your friend. I just look at him. He's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Lines are drawn.
Yeah, the line is drawn.
Right.
So
Because
yeah,
the worst one's genuinely funny. Like I've told the story on stage. He was getting Reese's cups, and his buddy goes, "I can't have Reese's. I'm allergic to nuts." Dude, he was 6. He goes, "You allergic to these nuts?" And I just burst out laughing in line at a movie theater. And then for the next 5 minutes, I had to be like, I wasn't laughing. I was laughing at the awkwardness of the situation, not the perfect comedic timing. But I had to be like, son, do you even know what that means? And he's like, yeah, like testicles. And I was like, sure, but you don't know all of what that means. Fine.
Right.
But yeah, he would do that little thing where, you know what some kids said at school today? And I'm like, oh, is it a curse word you're about to say and be grounded for the rest of the night? And he's like, no, I didn't try to say no. I was just so there's always that. I feel like there's always a little bit of that push.
yeah, the kids test.
Yeah, that testing.
Yeah, but no, my son was always really well behaved because we just talked. We just talked about everything, age appropriate, and there was obviously a line. Like there's parents who overshare,
Way too much.
you know, talk about their sex
I
lives.
trauma
and all
dump on my
types.
daughter.
Oh
Yeah, all
Lord.
the time.
You what now?
Trauma dump on her.
She's 3, or 2. You don't even realize the sponge she is.
Yeah.
By the time she's 5, she's going to be like, so furries.
My mom sells foot pics. Yeah.
You're really promoting that today, aren't you?
I'm trying to make a little extra cash.
Are you really?
No.
Yeah, but you are. I feel
would
like you
do
are.
Find your side hustle. Good for you.
Do it. Thanks, Derek.
There you go.
Well, I bet you there's a former employee that'll buy them. There's any money left.
I'll take his money too.
Well, if your daughter becomes a photographer, we know why.
All right. See? You gotta like engage with them. Yeah.
She starts Foot Magazine and becomes a billionaire.
It's a family business.
It's family business.
Your daughter
Yeah.
starts taking pictures of her own feet.
Yeah, we'll talk about it too. So
No, you can
That'd be
bring
good.
it up. No, I mean, my son's also, where I don't overshare. He doesn't know I've been arrested. He doesn't know my checkered past. You know, there's stuff, but I will explain, like, well, you know, some people don't drink for this reason. And I'm glad that his generation is kind of getting away from that, it seems, you know. Sure, they like to eat ass. But I mean,
it's not as dangerous.
A little pink eye amongst kids.
there's no fentanyl in the ass. But I'm just saying the younger
Your son's
generation.
10.
Well, not him, but I mean, you know what I mean?
Okay.
That like that Gen Z group.
No, keep talking. This is very entertaining. Thinking of your 10-year-old son
Yes.
eating ass.
He doesn't eat ass, but I bet you he will. And that bothers me. We're going to have a talk. I'm going to say, look. I ate the pussy the butt the whole motherfucking thing. Sorry. Sam Jackson. No, but I mean, that generation is more open, and it's been a problem for quite a while, is how open people are to younger kids.
Yeah.
And that's why I've sheltered them a bit from that, because I think there's a time and a place to learn. Yeah. Like when I was 10 and my parents showed me Philadelphia, I got to watch Turner and Hooch. That's the height of age.
God.
How did Tom Hanks get so skinny, Dad?
Yeah, and just,
Well, when a boy meets another boy.
yeah, see?
There goes that conversation.
And against God's will, they both...
They got Oz confused with Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I'm just watching it. I'm like, this is a long movie. I'm like on season 4.
You know Adam and Eve? Well, there's Adam and Steve.
Yes, it's in here. Take a look. It's in the movie.
Now, do you
Steve likes
talk-
orgies.
Do you talk about in your book at all about social services, about any programs that are out there? I mean, because you know, there's so many pros and cons that are talked about foster parenting.
Well, I do talk about the foster care system
Right.
Through the story of a friend of mine, who was in the foster care system, and kind of used her story. Because the theme of the book, obviously, is the children left behind. And for me, like, the foster care system is an example of these children who are completely left behind,
Right.
by both parents and by their family if they're staying in the system until they age out. So I wanted to use her story because that was her circumstance. Unfortunately, when she was 5, she was raped by her mom's friend. Her mother was trying to groom her to become a prostitute. Her mother got pregnant by a black man. She was white. She got pregnant by a black man as a revenge thing because her father was in the KKK.
Wow.
Yes.
Good on her.
Right?
I mean, seriously, you're going to get them back.
You want to piss them off?
Well, here's the
Challenge
crazy part.
accepted.
What was funny is after she was born, her grandfather left the KKK because of her, and that became like the best relationship that she had.
Damn.
Until he
Wow.
died. He died early in her life, but that was
Wow.
Yeah,
How great is that, though?
yeah,
Well, because it's strange, but there is that element where you've been trained to hate. Because you know it from having a kid, and I know it from having a kid. It is not how they're born.
right.
Hatred is learned. I mean, disliking someone or a taste or something, that's natural.
Right.
But hating someone based on these very surface things is absolutely learned.
Right.
So the idea that somebody, and it sounds like such a bad word, but like something that you saw as worthless, all of a sudden, not only did you humanize, but you loved.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. No, that part was the one beautiful part of her
Of her
childhood.
story, yeah.
Yeah. But unfortunately, he died when she was very young.
Which is, very sad.
Yeah. Ultimately, her mother got with a guy who was in the process of trying to get access to molest her, basically.
Yeah.
And he had some like failed attempts. She tells some stories of failed attempts where he tried to molest her, but her mother was physically abusive. She would hide from her. She would hide in like the laundry hamper and stuff like that to get away from her mother. Ultimately, like her mother just hated her, absolutely hated her.
She was allowing it. She was aware of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. Like I said, she was grooming her to become a prostitute at some point.
Right.
Yeah. She ultimately turned herself in to the authorities at the age of 8. She, yeah,
Wow.
Dude.
she wanted to be taken. She was like, "Get me out of here."
Talk about like an old soul, dude. An old broken soul. Okay.
At 8.
At 8.
I mean, that's horrible.
And she ultimately stayed in the foster care system until she aged out. But she talks about, her situation at home was actually worse than what happened with her in the foster care system. But she did have to, deal with foster care brothers who were trying to be sexual with her and having to hide from them in the bathroom, getting taken from house to house, people who don't really care that you're there, So it's very tumultuous. But the thing is, she worked through a lot of it. And if you met her, you'd have no idea that she went through all these things. And on top of that, she still remained believing in God, right? And so even in those terrible moments, she thanks God for giving her enough of a know-how to turn herself in and get her out of that situation.
And the world needs people like that who have experienced extraordinary pain.
Yeah.
But have kept their faith and kept their belief and stood up for themselves. And there's a lot of great foster families out there. And at the same time, there is a large number of prostitutes that do come out of those families, whether it's because they were trained that that was all they were worth, or because it's all they could figure out how to sell once they ran at 18. There's a lot of issues with that.
Yeah, if you have no marketable skills, you're going to make money somehow. You got to survive.
Well, and I mean, even like Boys Town in Omaha and like there's a lot of dark stories about it. And I mean, I think even recently there's like a 350-pound woman who wanted the foster kid to be quiet, so she suffocated him by sitting on him.
Oh wow!
Didn't purposely kill him, but did.
Yeah.
And it's like you never know. Am I going to a place because they want to raise kids and love them, or am I going to a place because it's a check?
Right.
And that's tough.
And more often, it's the check part, And even for her, she became a foster parent at one point, but she says it's an incredibly difficult thing to do, because by the time you get them, they not only have they dealt with trauma at home, right, but they've already been tossed around. Even if it's for a year, they've been tossed around throughout the foster care system and have experienced something, at the very least abandonment. So by the time they make it to you, you're getting this kid who's just all over the place, who's a mess. You don't know if they're going to be defiant, violent because they're frustrated.
Yeah.
Or they were being sexually abused and now they're just repeating that behavior on your kid, right? So you don't know what's going to happen when you bring them into your home, and it can test anyone's marriage as well, which she talks about. So she could only do it for a certain amount of time because it was really, really testing her family situation.
Yeah, I get irritable when they cut me up at the bar.
You do. You do.
Yeah.
The foster kids?
Yeah, he goes to this foster kids bar.
It gets cut off.
It's a speakeasy. He's doing grape juice shots. You're just in a Little Rascals fort.
That's exactly it.
They're all foster kid bartenders wearing trench coats on each other's shoulders. And you're just hammered. Which wouldn't shock me at all if you knew him. But not to do an end of the world, we're running a little on time. But before, I guess I want to ask, because I do want to encourage you, please check out the book, The Children We Left Behind, right there. Right there, look at it.
Where can they get that?
Amazon, really any retailer.
Okay.
The audiobook is available as well. And they can go to wrongspeak.net if they want to purchase it.
And Adam B. Coleman as well. But what's Wrong Speak?
Wrong Speak is my publishing company.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Good for you, man. No, this is, seriously, check out this book. And what advice, I want to ask, what advice would you have for somebody who is struggling because they may have been raised in the same way and they're kind of lost in life and their direction?
Well, the first thing I would say is your childhood doesn't have to define your adulthood. So, I'm an example, if you want to use me as an example, where I did struggle, but I've overcome those obstacles. I'm virtually a completely different person than 10 years ago, as far as my demeanor, my confidence. Even sitting here talking to you about this, I wouldn't have been able to do this a decade ago. These are things that took time and overcoming my anxiety, improving my confidence and things of that nature. Getting the small W's, especially for young men, if they're struggling with something and they feel like they're a loser, you got to get small W's. So if you're sitting at home and you're not accomplishing anything, all right, take out the trash. Did you do it? All right, that's a small W. Just Jordan Peterson, make your bed, right?
It's true. It's very childish stuff, but it's stuff that you've neglected
Right.
a lot in your life.
Right. So you have to build yourself up, quite literally build yourself up, so where you start to believe that you can really accomplish these things. So for me, a lot of those W's came career-wise, where I was like finally catching some sort of success after many years of struggling to make way in the IT field. So that really helped to build up my confidence. I started solo traveling. That really helped to get rid of my anxiety. I had bad social anxiety, but I didn't realize how bad it was until it was basically gone. And started exploring the world, started asking questions and taking risks. Just as I was saying before, I wrote my first book. I didn't know if I was going to get fired from my job, and I didn't care because it was far more worth saying how I felt and expressing myself to demonstrate that for my son than worrying about this particular job. If I got fired, I'll find another job.
And it's a touchy subject, which means you have to believe it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get, that's with anything I suppose you put out, but especially with a subject like this,
Yeah.
you're putting something out into the world that people may not agree with, even though this is your story. And when you are true to your word, it's very important what you say. People need that. People need to see that.
Absolutely. I didn't even tell my mother that I was writing this book. I didn't want anything to stop me from being honest about how I actually felt. But I will say, in a short amount of time, I feel like the book has helped me get closer to my mom. So she knows exactly what I was struggling with and how I feel today. She knows that I'm not resentful. I'm not angry with her or my father. I talk a lot about forgiveness throughout the book. Like, that is how we heal and move forward. So, if you were abandoned by your father, your mother, or both your parents, they messed up, forgive them. That's the one way for you to move forward. And the forgiveness is for you, not for them, right? So the forgiveness is so you allow that hatred, that anger to wash away so you can move forward in life.
Well, and for that book alone, just for you to have created that bond with your mom that you didn't really have for all those years. And for her to get that understanding is huge.
Yeah, I think so. And I admitted to her, because of all the things I was struggling with, I wasn't the best of a son. Right. So I constantly taking ownership of my part, not someone else's part. So I'm not taking ownership over my father's part, and I'm not telling my mother to take ownership over my father's part. I think she felt guilt. She's like, oh, I should have forced him to be more involved. I'm like, you can't make my father love me. That has to be on his own.
Yeah.
So no matter what you would have done, it wouldn't have happened because he didn't love me. And I've accepted that. And that's fine, because love is an action, and I got inaction from him. Yeah. That's how I know.
I really appreciate you coming on the show. Honestly, it's been a wonderful conversation. I wish you a ton of success with this book. Like I said, I actually have it on my Kindle, so I'm reading it. But again, check it out. The Children We Left Behind by Adam B. Coleman. You can go to all those places to get it. I really do appreciate your input and your honesty, and you're willing to open up. I truly believe that stuff helps a lot of people, and you should be proud of yourself.
Thank you.
And I hope you will come back.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Congratulations on the book, man. That's fantastic.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And I guess we can do one thing just for fun. I guess people on the left said dogs are bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that they cause, let me go ahead and read this.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
They're bad for the
I
environment.
saw this pop up. Oh, my God.
Yeah, dogs are bad for the environment. I guess we can do this real quick.
What?
I just want to bring it up because it's important to let you know how angry I am. The Left Wing magazine highlighted, I guess, what's the name of it?
Mother Jones.
Yes. Highlighted the new research saying that dogs are, it's wildlife. They pollute the waterways. They contribute to carbon emissions. And the carbon emissions is obviously off the charts with their private jets they use.
Clearly.
Yeah, and don't get me started on the Beagle Summit where they brought their individual jets. I'll say my dog never cuts up plastic six-pack holders, which is why I'm wearing this shirt to let my dog know, ever. It's almost like he can't use scissors. How about if you don't like dogs, fuck you. And I'm going to say I saw this psychopath driving around Redford, Michigan not too long ago.
What's it say now?
It says prevent cancer, no dogs in house, dogs cause cancer. It was the craziest thing.
What?
Cancer dog get 10 times more cancer than you and me.
Yes.
And.
Yep. Yeah, cancer. Dogs get more cancer, Derek. Maybe because they have a lifespan
Cancer.
of 13 years.
Dog poop. Dogs and cancer. Some dogs.
Oh my God.
Yeah. All I know is I don't know what's giving that person cancer, but I hope they've died from it already. So I just want to go. Sorry, I don't mean to be blunt. I love dogs, and they can.
I love dogs too.
publish
I hope a
something-
dog with cancer shits in that guy's face.
Yeah, the fact that you would go the carbon footprint of a dog. It's like you used more than their entire life writing that.
I know, right?
So anyway, Adam, you are a fantastic guest. I wanted to just point out what somebody who's not good at writing put together as opposed to somebody who's great at it. So check out his book, And Never Ever by Mother Jones.
The Guardian.
Yeah, whatever that nonsense is.
Garbage.
That article was paid for by Big Cat.
You know what?
That's why they did that. An attack ad.
Smear campaign.
It's just Garfield in a room like, gotta put it out. Lasagna. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in. We appreciate it, and stay away from Big Cat. He's absolutely right.